Well, welcome back. We are here talking about the Orville. And the new season of the Orville. We took last week off, but the Orville did not. That was not intentional to take last week off, at least for me. But I decided not to do it. There's no excuse for this at all. Just I was like, yeah, no, we're gonna talk about it later, and so we're gonna skip an episode.
But it was mostly my fault, Had to go out of town, had to do business stuff. I get it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, so we're trying to bring another person in to talk about episode 3, and when I first watched,
I stink,
And so when I first watched it, I was like, okay, I can do this one. I can do this one solo. It's fine. I enjoyed it. It wasn't a great episode, but it was a good one. And then we have spent the last 2 weeks discussing it on Discord. I'm like, you know what? Let's postpone a little bit, and we'll actually get a good discussion on this because it'll be good. But I am the Techno Funk Boy. You are the Henshin Dad himself. Welcome.
Himself. That's right. The genuine article.
And we try to get together weekly to discuss the Orville season 3, and as the new episodes come out, and as we are recording this, episode 5 just came out, but we are discussing episode 4 because we haven't watched episode 5. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, I was going over the numbers. I'm just like, okay, are the numbers correct? Okay, yeah, we're good. The numbers match.
Yeah. So we're gonna do the same thing that we normally do, and we're gonna do a quick, no spoilers review of this episode if you have not seen it, and then we are going to do another video tomorrow that'll be released tomorrow. We're gonna record it today, but we're gonna release it tomorrow with spoilers, and it's gonna be fun. So
spoilers.
This is episode 4 of season 3, Gently Falling Rain. It is
great title, honestly. Like I did not know what to expect just from that title, but I'm just like, oh, okay, that sounds like almost Babylon 5 worthy, which is interesting.
It's very appropriate for this episode. Was it in our private conversations, or was it when we were on the video that that you mentioned something about Bruce Boxleitner needed to be on the show?
Oh yeah. So it was when I think it was episode 2, and we talked about that. I remember there was the Admiral that came aboard, and all the things that happened to him. And as soon as I heard his voice, like,
that's the reason.
Like, is that Bruce Boxleitner? Oh no, it's not. Okay. And I was just like, oh, bummer. And then we did mention it on the video, and I was like, it'd be really cool if he showed up somehow. It's like, come on, he is one of the big names and faces of science fiction. It's
right.
Babylon 5 is considered to be super popular, and we're even getting a remake of that at some point. So come on, let's get in some.
Well,
I'm assuming it's going to happen.
We're gonna get to him, but this is the perfect role for him. It
really is,
and in a perfect episode for him. And I'm glad that he's on this show because that kind of hope-driven type of sci-fi that Star Trek was, that Babylon 5 has been inherited by the Orville. They really are kind of in that kind of group of very optimistic about the future types of shows. So Gently Falling Rain. The second time I watched this, I thought about the title a lot, but we're going to get into that in spoiler review.
Ooh,
but
foreshadowing.
So this episode is about because of the Kaylon threat. The Alliance and Krill have been kind of working as a loose team, even though every time they talk to the Krill, they're reminded that, as soon as the Kaylons are gone, we're going to kill you, right? I mean, obviously.
Exactly.
But they are now trying to make this formal. And so Supreme Chancellor Corrin from Krill is actually hanging out with President Alcurzon
Sheridan. You can just call him Sheridan.
President Sheridan, who is Bruce Boxleitner. Y'all need to watch Babylon 5 if you don't know Babylon 5. He comes aboard on season 2 as Captain Sheridan, and he's amazing. And he is Tron, and he's just a great actor. And I was so happy when his name popped up, and then he comes in and he's all blue and manicured and looking great. I mean, it's weird that, with age he turned very, very dark blue.
I know,
but some
right?
people do that.
It's just, it's the Centauri's fault, probably.
Right.
That's how it goes.
But they're going to go to the Krill homeworld to sign a permanent treaty. But the Supreme Chancellor is being challenged in this election by a populist candidate who we know is Talea, and she's kind of stoking fears that Corin is siding with the infidel type of a thing, and making treaties with outsiders, and he's betraying their people. And that is kind of the setup of this episode. And as normal, like we've seen from this season, because these episodes are running like an hour 5, they're like, if they were broadcast on TV, this would be actually an hour and a half episode instead of an hour episode. And it gives them more room to run with it. And so there was one moment in particular in this episode that I refrained from sending you the message, "Oh crap." I wasn't going to say crap, but I knew you hadn't seen it yet. So I was restraining myself. I'm like, okay, he'll get to it. I'll hold off because you wouldn't have any idea what we're doing. But I tell you what, I loved this episode. This is either my favorite or second favorite of the season, depending on. I'll go back at the end of the season to lay stuff out, but the first episode and this episode have been just out of the park.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, honestly. And it feels weird that we keep going back and forth between this. It's like, oh, this episode is so great. Oh man, this episode is just fantastic. And it's like over and over again, they just keep one-upping themselves.
Well, we haven't discussed episode 3 yet, which is great discussion, but it wasn't the best episode.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like the tension of this, and I'll go ahead and say, because this is a concern that I had going into it, that word was on the street that there was a TDS episode in this season, and then this one came out, and they're like, everybody's like, okay, this is the TDS episode that we were waiting for, and this is kind of like, oh, okay, we see Talea as like this populist candidate who is lying about her opponent and doesn't like outsiders and stuff, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this could go really bad. It didn't.
No, not at all.
It didn't. It was like I mean, there was I think I think recent elections have provided an inspiration for a lot of what happened in that episode, but it wasn't a Orange Man Bad episode
no.
at all. And I think the situation fit Krill really, really well.
Like there doesn't seem to be anything that was contradictory to how they would feel, to be perfectly honest, because like they've been setting that up since, like, I don't even remember when was the season that they tried to sneak on board and disguise themselves. Was that season 1?
That's season 1. 2? Yeah. So this has been
season 1,
right?
So
yeah, we should mention that Talea is a reoccurring character. She's she's been aboard. She's been on aboard the show, pun intended, twice. The first one was when Mercer disguised himself and snuck aboard a Krill ship, and she befriended his alter ego, and then he has to betray her and kill everybody and stuff, and
no, as things go,
right.
Typical Tuesday.
But then she returns in kind of a revenge plot where she basically does the same thing to him, and they set that up for episodes. And
I think it was like the first episode of season 2 where you actually meet her for the first time, and you're like, okay, who's this character? And then she just kind of
because she looks completely
goes away.
Yeah, she comes as a human because she's just a disguise, and yeah, you can't recognize her because she's Krill makeup is very heavy.
Yes.
And so all of that is going on in the background to this, and all of that history is really important for this episode. But I like her as a character a lot. I think she's a good foil to Mercer.
And, I'd agree.
And so it was. I think her presence in this episode was very welcome, and I thought she was a good villain for the episode. But
and honestly, if you hadn't said a single thing to me about that, I would have never even picked up that would be like the intention whatsoever from the writers, to be perfectly honest. Like, it's like, is this a TDS episode? I don't know. I honestly would not have even been able to tell. Perfect. I mean, that could just be because I'm stupid, but
and so I've been ridiculously pleased with this season so far. And I think of these first four episodes, I've enjoyed every single one of them. I thought 3 of them were home runs, and so
one of them was just like a what is it, a double hit? I don't know.
Don't try
baseball metaphors.
You had it right for a second there until you went double hit, and
a double. Yes.
It's just a double.
Okay, a daily double.
So yeah, like this episode subverts expectations, like we keep seeing over and over and over again in this season. Is they really have time to add some twist into their plots and bring it to places you're not expecting, and this is no different.
Just not in a Rian Johnson way. Just in case anybody was confused by that.
Right. No, and like I was on. I was with them. I was with them the whole way, and so there's going to be some points that we're going to discuss in the spoiler review, but I want to bring up one thing in the non-spoiler review, just because it was unintentionally hilarious, and so Boxleitner's character quotes a poem, and you actually sent me that poem because I didn't know it, and the senator who's with him goes, oh, what's that from? And he replies, it's from a poem. It's like, well, no, duh, it rhymes and everything.
He's just pretty deadpan that way. He's like, yeah, it's a poem. Obviously.
And you always think he's like, I think it was pretty clear that it was a poem, lady.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, no, one. I loved that. Anything else we got to hit in the meantime?
The non-spoiler section,
right?
I just interesting to see that Charlie's coming on as like one of the main cast, even more so this episode, and I don't feel like she really played much of a character, to be perfectly honest. I feel like her role could have been played by anybody else, and probably would have been funnier. But for the most part, she's not like super grating or anything. She's just kind of like the straight man, just bouncing off of all these weird situations. It seems, I don't know, from what I'm seeing. So I guess an audience surrogate in that case. Maybe that's what her function is in this season.
Yeah, I'd say that the thing that distinguishes her is that, and you're right, this really could have been nearly anyone, is that she's the most pessimistic one.
That's true.
Of the group, of anybody. And so I do feel like at one point where she's where Mercer's apologizing for taking her along, that she says something that, like, I feel like everybody would have had the same thought, but it wouldn't have been the same line. But you're right, like yeah, she is she's driving the shuttle. in this episode, and that that is her role. I do, yeah. I hope to see more of her in distinct situations coming up. But I also feel like in nearly every episode, you have main characters who are not the focus at all, and they
Right.
slot in to where they're needed.
Makes sense. I mean, that's kind of what you have to do with an ensemble cast. You know,
Right,
some will
yeah.
get like 0 speaking lines some weeks, and then the next couple episodes they'll get like a focus or something. So
Right.
that makes sense. It just seems like she's like the newest person in this entire cast, so it's like, okay, let's kind of build upon something here.
Well, and I think I mentioned it previously when they brought Esri Dax on in Deep Space Nine. They kind of did the same thing, where it's like, you know, girl, we're in the middle of a war. We do not have time to develop your character. Here, go sit over there. You know, and they had.
I guess that's pretty similar.
Yeah, they would have focuses on her occasionally, but it was very occasionally, and I really, which I really liked Esri. So I was saddened by that. She was way overshadowed by Jadzia, as anybody would be, because Jadzia is the best female character in Star Trek.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, well, we're gonna click over into the spoiler review, and so please do like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all the good jazz.
Comments
are fun. And if you are seeing this as it's coming out, we're gonna have the spoiler section come out tomorrow. We're gonna be wearing the same clothes because we're recording it right now. Also, like, I got this shirt specifically for this series, and so I'm gonna wear it every time.
I'm sure you've watched it though, you know.
Sure. All right. We'll
Once or
see you out
twice.
there.